Today, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. We're gonna talk about why you'll probably get rejected from grad school. But of course, I'm going to share some strategies to help you be better prepared to prevent this rejection. Now, the first thing that's probably going to get you rejected from grad school is your GPA. But wait, it's not what you're thinking. A lot of students feel like if their GPA is low, then they're automatically going to be rejected. But that's just not quite how grad school works. Grad school generally looks at your applications from a holistic perspective. However, if you have a GPA that is fairly low or does not meet the minimum requirement, it is your job as the applicant to inform the graduate review committee why this won't be the case in grad school. A lot of people allow their GPA to make decisions for them, but when it comes down to it, you need to demonstrate and meet the problem head on to show the grad review committee that you are solution oriented and already figuring out a way to improve your GPA in the future. So this means if you are substantially below or even just barely missing the mark, you need to talk about it. You can't just hope that they don't notice or hope that they don't care, but instead you want to include somewhere in the application a reason or an explanation as to why your GPA was so low and a solution or a strategy that you will implement or that you have implemented to make sure your GPA increases in grad school. So this means you are not letting your GPA do talking for you, but instead you're saying, hey, I know that this is something you notice. It might be a red flag, but let me explain why it's not. Now, of course, you don't want this disclaimer or this information to take up the majority of your application, but you do want to demonstrate to your graduate program that this will not happen again. And that's usually why there is a GPA requirement, because generally grad school is about academic integrity or staying in good academic standing. And so if you cannot demonstrate to the grad review committee that you're going to stay in grad school, then it's going to be hard for them to want to submit an acceptance letter to you. So it's important that you are genuinely demonstrating that you want this graduate degree, that GPA was a mistake, something that happened in the past, or a learning curve that you've experienced, and now you're going to do this to prevent this. Or even in that time, if your first 2 years were really bad and impacted your GPA, but your last 2 years were really good, highlight that. I learned these skills, or I started to study, or I took school more seriously, or I got access to more financial support, so I was able to do these things. I was able to make better grades. I was able to study. I learned I had a disability, so I was able to find accommodations. This type of conversation really does help you seem more like a competitive applicant because you're thinking ahead and also seeing yourself as a work in progress, and that this graduate school thing is something you are taking seriously. The second reason why you're going to get rejected is that you are applying to the university and not the program. Now, when you are applying to undergrad, you usually apply to your dream school, the school that has your most pride, your family heritage, the experience that you want most, and it's about the entire environment. Grad school's not like that. It is not an entirely immersive process or experience with the university. And in fact, most graduate programs are highly particular. So if you are applying to a graduate program because you really like the university, you're not going to come off as very competitive. You need to demonstrate in your application why this particular program is important to you, how it helps you meet your goals, and how it will help you move to whatever your professionalization dreams are. And one way to look at it is that if you're just focusing on the university and not the program itself, you could apply to any of the graduate programs at the university. So it's important that you are really highlighting why this program is important to you, how your research fits into this program, and how it will help you go and reach your goals in the future once you graduate. Now, I have 2 videos that talk about personal statements, one where I share my actual personal statement that got me into UCLA, and another one that breaks down your personal statement into really accessible questions that you need to make sure you answer. So I will plug those videos at the end so you can make sure you go watch them next. Which leads to the third reason you'll get rejected, and that is your personal statement was too personal. Now, like I said, I have 2 videos that talk about personal statements, so I'm not gonna harp on this a lot. But generally, a lot of the times when we come from our undergraduate expectations, a lot of our writing are very personal, where we share our deepest, darkest secrets, what we had to overcome, familiar experiences, and things like that. But Even though those things are still important for your graduate application and process, you want to tailor your application or your personal statement for your application to be more focused on how does this impact your research? How will this lead you to your goals? So in a lot of cases, we may talk a lot about what we had to overcome or why this is important to us, but not necessarily how this will help our research or how this will move us to our professional goals. So by that switch of reorientation, where you're not necessarily the most important thing in your personal statement, I know, counterintuitive, but instead your research is the most important thing in this personal statement, or the program itself and how it's connected to your research is the most important part of your personal statement, is a great way to make your personal statement way more competitive and stand out in the application pool. The fourth reason is actually one that I just don't think a lot of people talk about, and that is your letters of rec were not good. Letters of recommendation are some of the most important parts of your graduate application because these people are going to vouch for you. These are people that are trusted within academia or within the greater sphere of what you're applying to help you seem more like you have a community or you have people who will vouch for you. Now, some things to keep in mind about letters of recommendation is that you can't just be anybody. Generally, you want these people to be very connected to your research or very connected to this field. So when they vouch for you, people understand that they know what to expect and that they know what to say that graduate students or graduate schools want to hear. Now, again, I have an entire video about letters of rec. I will also put that in the end screen so you can know how to strategically and mindfully select your letters of recommendation. But generally, you want to make sure that they are super supportive of your grad school. Make sure that they are willing to write a strong letter of recommendation and that they are somehow connected to the field or the program that you are applying to. And the fifth reason is actually the reason most people get rejected from graduate school, and it's you just weren't a good fit. Sometimes you can have the strongest letters of rec. You can have the most prolific and beautiful personal statement. All of your grades can be chef's kiss, perfect, and you can still get rejected. And that's because grad school is really about fit. And so kind of similar to what I was saying earlier about you applying to the university and not the program, even if you are applying to the program and understand how this program will help you, sometimes there's things going on in the back that make it difficult for graduate programs to accept students. A big difference between grad school and undergrad is that grad school is really about mentorship. It's not about taking classes and learning information, but rather being guided into an academic profession or into academia more generally. And so if there's not an advisor or a mentor that is able and willing to take you in as a student, then you have a high chance of being rejected. And that doesn't necessarily mean they think you're not smart enough or you're not capable. In fact, they reject a lot of students that they think would be great for their program. But it comes down to it, if no faculty have access, time, or funding to accept them, you're not going to get accepted. And so in other cases, it may be the person that you are writing to be your mentor doesn't have the capacity to take on students, might be retiring the next year, or maybe on leave. And so they're unable to take on mentees. Or in other ways, the department may be going through an internal transition where they're no longer focusing on the thing that's on their website, and they know that, but of course you won't know that because you're not there yet. And so when you get rejected, it's important not to take it personally or to think it's because you're not good enough, but rather understand that there are a lot of politics and moving pieces going on in the background that may impact your ability to get accepted. But there's always good news. There are more graduate programs out there, and you will eventually get accepted. All you have to do is keep trying, which is why I would suggest heading to my grad admissions playlist. If you found at least 2 things useful, please hit the thumbs up so YouTube will share this video with others who may need it. And as always, your support helps a small YouTuber like me continue to grow. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week.